Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today we'll be speaking with an athlete and fitness coach who started competing in 2019, and after 4 regional shows and 4 national shows, she earned her IFBB Pro card and became your 2022 Miss Bikini USA champion before going on to place 5th at the Sasquatch Pro for her pro debut. Welcome to the show, Savannah Watchman. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and to chat with you and just share more about my experience. So I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. And you guys listening out there, I have been playing around with some video interviews. So this one is also going to be on YouTube, celestial_fit. If you want to watch us do this podcast, then that's where you can find it. But let's jump right into what is something you do or think about or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is kind of funny, but who was I telling this? I did a posing workshop with one of my good friends. We just had that a couple of weeks ago. So I was telling a lot of those athletes there that what I do, like my ritual right before I go on stage, is my last name is Watchman. So I'm usually at the end of the alphabet. And there's sometimes like one other person behind me. And like there usually is. So I'm lucky with that. So I ask that person behind me like to check and make sure like nothing's hanging out of my suit. I always am like, I hit my back pose and I'm like, okay, am I covered? Like, I don't want to go up there and flash anybody. But honestly, like, that's probably my ritual there is like, okay, is the suit looking okay? Like, I don't want to go out there. And I know we're like half naked up there, but I don't want to be like showing everything.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of interesting, weird ritual. But, and honestly, just like amping up all of the other competitors too, and just getting really excited because that's the moment that we've all waited for is, it's right there, all that hard work. And, just to be there, it's important to have fun because the journey sucks at times. It's hard. But yeah, so just getting excited and making sure my suit bottoms look how they should.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I realized early-ish on in 2020 that I should have been asking people to check my hair because sometimes you're waiting backstage for so long and then you get up and you don't realize your hair's got all these issues in the back.
Yeah.
So I learned that. So I think it's great that you do that. Plus, it gives you the opportunity to connect with other people. And I think this would be a good time to talk about your journey to earning your pro card. And before USA's, you had made a post saying that, and this post was made after athlete check-ins, where you said you felt really good about this show. So what was that feeling that you had going in? Like, did you believe you were going to walk away with your pro card? And did you expect the overall win? Like, what was happening?
Yeah. So, I had done Universe a few weeks before that, and I knew that I could have come in a little bit better. Like I obviously did everything that my coach asked. I followed everything to the T, but I was like, deep down, I didn't feel like that was the one, but I'm really grateful that I did that show. Obviously each show is a learning experience and it brings you it's a stepping stone for the next best thing. So at check-ins there, I felt good. I was like, okay, this is the best that I feel that I have looked. And I felt really confident in that and in my coach too. And I was like, okay, I'd been used to like not getting, kind of getting close, like top 5 for the 4 national shows that I did. The first one actually was USA's the year before, and that was my worst experience ever. So I had been with a different coach. It was weird. So I had a coach, but she was out of the country. And so I was working with a temporary coach like during that time because she's like, I planned this trip, but I don't want you to put like your plans on hold. And I really respected that from her. She's like, you've worked hard for this, to like, you've done enough shows that you know how your body peaks. So you could honestly like do it yourself, or if you feel like you need someone there to like check in with, like, here's this person. And I was like, you know what, I think just for like the peace of mind, it'd be helpful to have somebody, you know, especially a national show. So I was with someone temporarily while she was out of like communication and things. And I don't know, my skin is tricky. So my tan, like I turned green, and that coach, I think, was like aiding more on the side of being cautious with carbing up. He didn't want me to spill over. And so I like hardly carved up. So I was like flat, I was green, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the worst ever. Like, should I be doing this? You know, but then I like kind of got back in, you know, in the groove of things. And my coach was back in the country, and we're like, okay, let's do North Americans in a few weeks. And so I was able to place fourth at North Americans. And I was like, okay, this makes me feel better. You know, I was like, okay, instead of, you know, what happened a few weeks ago. And then from there, that coach actually, she is so awesome. Like, I loved her. I have nothing but good things to say about her. She got sick, and she was like, I don't feel like I could be a quality coach for you and give you what you deserve at this point. She's like, I'm going to finish out your contract with you, but she's like, you deserve a lot better, and I don't think I can give that to you right now. And so I really like respect her for that. And so that's when I transitioned to the current coach that I have now. And I'd always had him on my radar. So I'm with Shane. And he's incredible. So I knew that he would get me to where I needed to be. Like, I knew it without a doubt. And I was like, okay. So that kind of gave me the push to switch to him. And then we did Universe. And that's when I felt like, okay, I felt good about things, but definitely could have been better. And so we were like, okay, let's do USA's. And I was like, okay, my experience last time wasn't so great, but I think, you know, this one will be a lot better. I have faith in my coach, and I know that I'm just following everything that I need to be following, and I'll just let the cards fall where they will. And just, you know, you can't control who's going to be there and things like that, but you can control kind of what you can control. And just, you know, I was like, all right, this will be good. So and it was a lot closer to like travel wise. So I live in Utah, so we were able to drive. I have family that lives in Southern Utah. So we kind of made a little trip out of it. My sister had her newborn baby. I got to see her and all of that. And, you know, so at check-ins, to kind of go back, sorry, this is like a roundabout way of answering it, but to go back to that Instagram post with like me checking in, I was like, okay, I feel ready. I feel really good. I feel confident and with what I've brought, and we'll just see how it goes. And so for prejudging, you obviously can't really see like where you're at on the stage. Like, you can know if you're kind of in the middle, but like you never really know how many are in that comparison. Like, you don't know if they're going to bring out 5, 6, 7, 8 or whatever. So I didn't really like pay attention to all that, because you've got all those nerves and things. So you don't pay attention to like how many people they're calling. And with my name being like at the end of the alphabet, I'm usually called closer to the end, you know? So I was like, all right, just wait and we'll see if they call me for first call outs. And so they called me in, and then it was pretty soon, like after they had us in our line, they moved me into splitting center with another girl. And we went through comparisons, and they didn't move me at all. And so I was like, okay, I don't know if I was like in the center, you know, I was like, I don't know. So I was able to look at pictures afterwards and ask my coach. And obviously USA's is a 2-day show, so you don't know like and how things are going to go until the next day. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm splitting center. So, you know, but things can always change. Like, I've seen it before with one of my friends where she was splitting center. So it was looking like she was either first or second at a show, but then she ended up getting like third or something like that. And so I was like, I don't want to get my hopes up, because I already had people being like, you did it, you know, and I was like, don't jinx it though, you know, we don't know. So I just kind of just went from there and like just relaxed. I was able to rinse off the tan, since it's a 2-day show, like then you just get a top coat the next day. So I was able to get some good sleep, and I was like, okay, like the decision's pretty much like already made. Like, it's just time to just keep having a good time, enjoy it. And so we went out, and when they called, you know, the top 5, I was like, okay, this is good. You know, they're like, they have the top 5 come out. And so we're just standing there, and they're announcing the placements and things. And they get to 3rd place, and I don't hear my number. So I was like, okay, I'm either first or second. So I'm like, I did it. Like, I got it. And they called the other girl for second, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, no way. Like, did I hear that right? Because like, I don't know, USA's has like it's really loud there. I don't know if like their music, I don't know, it's just really loud that I was like, did I hear that correctly? Like, did they call me? Did they make a mistake? So they called me and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be competing in the overall now. What the heck? Like, I've never been in an overall. So I was
Wow.
like, that's insane. Like, okay. So they take us off to the side to get ready for like the overall afterwards. And so we're back there with like Ashley Kaltwasser, Jen Dory, and I was like talking with them, which was really cool. And it was really cool actually. Like Jen was saying to me, she's like, I took a picture with her and she was super sweet. She's like, I'm hoping that I give the award to you. Like, I hope I give the overall to you. Like, she said something like that. It was really sweet. She's like we were just talking and she was just really genuine about it. And I was like, okay, like, wow, that's nice. I was like, I'm just grateful. Like I got my pro card, we'll see how the overall goes. Like I came with that goal and I got, my pro card. So we'll just have fun up there. And so they brought us all out. And with my height, I'm normally class E. So with all of the classes, I was kind of in the center again, just based off of like how many classes there were. And they didn't move me at all. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And they bring us off to the diagonal. And then, they're like, this is a really prestigious stage. We've got two former Miss Olympias awarding the overall. We've got Ashley Kaltwasser and our current reigning Miss Olympia, like Jennifer Dory. And I was like, that's cool to whoever gets it. I was like, that's cool. Like we're all on the stage together. And so they call my number. They're like, your new Miss Bikini USA, like 2022 overall winner is Savannah Watchman. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, check your scorecards because I don't know if that's right. I was like, no, like I've never had an overall before. And I was like, okay, this is what? So yeah, they called me up and then I gave a hug to Ashley Kaltwasser and Jen Dory. And Jen whispered in my ear, she's like, I knew it was you. And I was like, oh, like, so it was just really cool. And just, I don't know, I wish I could like relive that moment like over and over again because it just goes by so fast. And it was just something that was very humbling for me. Like all of us that compete, like we work really hard and obviously our goals are pretty much the same, right? We want to bring our best package and we want to win. But when stuff like that happens, it's like hard. It's like, did that really happen? Like, so I was actually telling one of my friends earlier today, like, cause she's like, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is just amazing. And I was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And she's like, I told her, I was like, I feel like I have imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't feel like I'm like deserving of that. She's like, what the heck? Like, stop saying that. But it's just like, it's hard to like accept. And it was really hard. Like, I don't know. It was so surreal after that. I was like, did this really happen? Like, are you sure you didn't mix me up with someone else that should have won? But, it was really neat. And, my dad has been to every single one of my competitions, every single one. He's traveled to everyone. And my mom, she's been to almost every single one that she's able to make it to. So my dad, he's been supportive through everything. And obviously my husband's been to every single one too. But so my dad was there with me and so was my husband. And I wasn't sure if my mom was going to be able to make it because she had work or something. She wasn't sure if she'd be there, even though she was only like an hour and a half away since she was in southern Utah. And so we're there and my dad was acting kind of like, I don't know, he took like a phone call and out in the hall, like when we were at the hotel and it just seemed a little, I was like, something's planned here. There's something. And I have my mom on like Find My Friends or on my iPhone or whatever. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to look and see. So I like looked at her location and it said that she was traveling like towards, where we were, it was like Mesquite or whatever. And I was like, huh. So I texted her, I was like, how's Mesquite for you? And she's like, oh, we're going to this birthday party, whatever. And I was like, oh, sure. And so once I didn't know they were there when I was up there for like awards and everything. And then it was afterwards that like I saw them as I got off the stage and I just like started crying because like my mom was there, my brother and his kids, his wife, like my family, they just surprised me there. And I have a picture afterwards, after I did my like interview for NPC News Online. I have a picture with like my family there and it's just like, it's really like meaningful to me. And just to have them there is just the support is incredible. And it's so humbling. And honestly, like, I don't know, it makes me want to cry because I'm just so grateful for that support, because I am very fortunate for that support. Not everybody has support like that, and I wish everybody did. So it's just something that I am very grateful for. But yeah, that is my experience with kind of that was a long response to your question there, but it kind of goes through everything with, you know, that post on Instagram the day before, and things just fell into place. And I felt calm, and I felt good. I felt ready. I was like, okay, this could be the time. And I've checked all those boxes. I've done everything in my power. So we will just see how it goes and just do our best.
If you're looking for competition heels, jewelry, and fun competitor extras, then visit shoefairyofficial.com and use code Celeste for a discount at checkout. That's so amazing, and a great journey that you went on to get there. And it would be emotional to think about all the support you had along the way, and then to have them there at the show as a surprise, like this culmination of your journey. And it was a 2-day show, which, you know, kind of leaves you stewing a bit, like, am I really gonna get it? Is it really mine? But you let it go. You said, you know, what is already decided. You showed up, you were awarded, and rightfully so as well. And then you walked away with your first overall win, which I think is a really key point I just want to drive home, because some people think that you have to win an overall or place first before you can try to go to nationals even, let alone actually turn pro. So did you ever have that doubt put in your mind, or you did?
I did. Yeah, 100%. So when I first started, I'd heard from a friend and like someone local who competes as well. She told me, because I think I made a post or I put something on my story years ago, something like, I don't know if I would feel ready to compete at a national level unless I won an overall, you know, like I really deserve to be there. And she responded back. She's like, I have a client who, you know, she qualified, she got like top 2, you know, and then she went on and got her pro card, and she beat the person that got first place in her class at a regional level. Like, she beat her and got her pro card over that girl. Like, it's just so, you know, and so that put it into perspective for me. You know, I was like, okay, when I qualified to compete like nationally, I actually got second place in my open class, and it was actually against now one of my teammates. So she got first in that class, and that's before I was with my new coach. And so I got second to her and qualified. And so I was like, you know what, like, why don't we just try it out? Like, I'd never really had the goal to compete nationally when I first started. I was just like, oh, this is cool. Like, my husband competed years ago, so that's what got me into it. So he did men's physique, and when we were first married, he was prepping for what's now called Wasatch Warrior, which is the show I'm doing in 2 weeks, which is crazy. He was prepping for that when it was called Salt City Showdown. And so I didn't know a lot about like lifting weights and training and all of that. Like, I've had an active background where I did cross country and track, and I also did cheerleading, and I went on to cheer in college as well. So I've had some sort of, you know, foundation of that, but not necessarily weight training. Like, when I would go to the gym, I'd like run on the treadmill, or I'd do like some abs. Like, I had no idea how to do like anything. And my husband taught me everything that I know. And so I was there with him because I wanted to spend time with him when he was dedicating so many hours at the gym. You know, I was like, well, I don't want to just be sitting at home being lazy, watching, you know, Netflix and eating potato chips. Like, why don't I just learn too? So he taught me, and I was eating the same things that he was too. So I was like, you know what, like, why don't I try like a show? Like, I'm going through these motions, like, that'd be kind of cool. So he's the one that, he never like pressured me into any of that stuff, but he was like, it'd be cool if you did one, like, if you want to, you know? And so I was like, you know what, let's do it. So I forced him to do my first show. I forced him to do that show with me because he was clocked out after that. He'd done Wasatch Warrior, well, Salt City Showdown, and then he actually did a half Ironman like a couple weeks after that. So he was like kind of dead. He's like, I don't know if I want to do it. And I was like, would you please? Like, I've never done a show. Like, I'm terrified. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It'd be nice to have you there. And he's seriously like, he's my rock. He's the best. So he was like, he did it, even though he didn't want to, he did it for me. And from there, I was like, oh, I want to improve. I want to be better. And so when I started, I was just like, oh, nationals, like, that's cool. Like all the pros, I don't think I'll ever get there or whatever, but this is cool. Like, it'd be cool to win my class, and it'd be cool to like win an overall at like a regional level. And then once I was just making those improvements, I was like, you know what, like, why don't I just try it? Like, let's just put myself out there. And so then here we are. And, never like, I don't know. I'm grateful that I've taken opportunities and never worried about like the what ifs, like, if that makes sense. I'm like, okay, I don't want to live my life regretting like, what if I didn't do this? So it's like, what if, I don't like living like that. So I was like, I'm glad that I just took that leap and I just did it and just trusted the process. And it's brought a lot of great friendships and a lot of memories along the way. So I'm super grateful for that. But to answer your question, sorry, I'm such a jabberbox, but to answer your question, yeah, like I always had thought that you had to win an overall, like to be worthy to compete at a national level, but that's definitely not true. So
yeah, I would have to agree with that. And I've talked to many women on this podcast now who were similar to you in that they didn't ever win an overall before. Some of them only ever placed second in their entire career, and yet they still were able to. And I want to go back to what you said about being inspired by your husband and him competing, because I imagine you must have been seeing something within him or through him and through his lifestyle that sparked something you wanted. So what were you recognizing that you wanted to get out of it that maybe you saw he was?
Yeah, it was really cool to see him work towards a goal. He'd competed before we were married or started dating. So he'd competed years ago, back when I think when like Steve Cook first like started, like years ago, when like men's physique became like pretty new. He started competing like after that. And so that was part of him before I'd known him. But to see him like firsthand, like he told me about his experiences, and I've seen like pictures and things like that before he prepped for the show. So I kind of knew about it, but to see him firsthand, like the discipline and like hard work ethic, it just made me like love him even more, to see him work towards a goal that's so hard physically, like you're drained, and like mentally too. It's so exhausting and it's hard. You're really challenging yourself in all aspects of your life with this. It can be a very selfish sport, and it's time consuming. You don't have much of a social life. You're just at the gym for forever, and and you just want to sleep all the time. But the thing that really like sparked an interest in me was to see the improvements that he made. And like, you are in control of how you sculpt your body, like following a plan. Like, you are the person, you are the driver, of that car. Like, you are in control of where you take your physique and whether or not you choose to follow your plan or not. But really, like, it was the work ethic and the discipline. And that's what I've taken on with a lot of things in my life today. It's really taught me how to be more disciplined in different areas of my life that are outside of fitness. And I wouldn't trade that for the world, because it's something that I never thought I could learn this. I don't know, like the type of discipline that I have, you have to like practice that and work at it, because you can't rely on motivation all of the time. That's when like discipline comes into place. But you got to stay consistent with it. And that's, then you'll build that discipline. But yeah, seeing how hard he worked and, working towards that goal is just like, that's so cool. Like, I want to work towards something too. Let's like hard. Like, I want to see like what I can do. Like, I want to challenge myself and just put myself out there.
Absolutely. I love how you said that it's impacted so many other areas of your life. And sometimes we do have those waves of like, I really want to push, and then times where it's a little bit harder to do that. And you've talked about before how sometimes, you don't have the motivation, but you still show up. So when you have had moments or maybe phases where you just go through the motions, how do you personally get yourself out of that to continue to support you and pushing for what you want?
Yeah. So honestly, it's hard. Like, as I'm like 2 weeks out from my next show, it's so hard. Like this is where discipline comes into play. Cause it's like, the last place that I want to be is the gym. The last place I want to be is like doing my like cardio, my long cardio sessions. So honestly, what's helped me is kind of compartmentalizing like how I'm feeling in this moment is just temporary. It's not going to be how I'm feeling the rest of my life or the rest of my prep. It's just in this moment, and pushing aside those feelings and focusing on that end goal and what I've been working months, years for. So just thinking about the bigger picture and like the end result has helped me, and building those consistent habits of like the gym is an everyday thing for me at this point, like it's just part of my routine that if I am not executing that, like, then it's just going to set me back. Obviously, like we need to take rest days and things like that. But if I'm letting myself like be like, oh, I don't want to go today. Like, I feel tired, but it's like recognizing whether or not I'm just being lazy or if like I really need the rest. Just pushing through and being like, okay, like I've got this, like and those are some of the best workouts that I've had is when like I don't want to go. Like when I push myself and I'm like, I've got to be there. Like those are some of the best times when I'm like, you know what, there might be someone else out there outworking me. Like there's always going to be someone outworking you. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to let up on this. I've got to push myself hard because there's someone else out there who's working harder than me. And, I've worked too hard to give up or let those temporary feelings take over, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. It's like if you show up and then you execute on one thing in the gym, it builds confidence to execute on the next and the next. So you end up leaving feeling so good that you win, because if you come in with that mentality of like, at least get this rep, at least get this set, at least do that, then you end up feeling much better.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Hopefully I don't look like I'm naked here. It's like, oops, probably the wrong shirt to wear, but I'm like,
I was like distracted by your shoulders. I was like, oh, 2 weeks out.
That's nice of you, but I'm like, sorry, I don't want to look like I'm here, so let me tilt that. But no, I think the hardest part too is like getting yourself to the gym. So it's like I know that once I'm in the car and I get there, it's like, okay, we're good. But sometimes it's the hardest is just like getting in the car and just going. But like once you're there, you're like, all right, I'm here. So like, why would I just waste my time, if that makes sense? So it's like that's sometimes the hardest part, but it's like once you get yourself there, then it's like, all right, we got this. Like we're pushing through.
Yeah, so. It's like, well, if I'm choosing to be here instead of in my bed or scrolling on social media, then I better get the absolute most out of it, because otherwise I could have been getting the most out of scrolling and being in my bed and being lazy.
Right. And it's like, well, if you're going to be on your phone, you may as well be on your phone while you're doing your cardio. Like, birds with one stone. Like if you're wanting to watch like a new show, like may as well do that while you're doing your cardio, So that's just kind of the mindset that I have. I'm like, I love to multitask. So it kind of helps me. I'm like, all right, I'm not like wasting time if I'm catching up on things, catching up on social media while I'm like doing cardio. It makes me just feel more productive that way too. Cause I'm like, I would just be sitting at home doing that same thing, but I may as well be like making more out of my time.
So. Absolutely. I had this thing where I was like, okay, I can only watch this show while I'm doing cardio. And granted, my cardio got really high during my last prep, so it was easy to do that. But it was a rule for me so that I wouldn't get distracted by TV or any sort of entertainment, YouTube channels, whatever, outside of just doing my steady state, because then it kept me on track with other things in my life. Since the gym was taking so much time, I really couldn't afford to just sit on the couch and watch a new season of something. So it was like, I will only do that at the gym. And then that's like a good habit stat, because you're more likely to just get up and go. Because like for me, it was bro chat. I would just watch bro chat all the time, and it was fun, and it got me laughing and made cardio go by faster too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's what I did too. My prep last year, I would watch Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that.
It's so good. So I think I actually have like one episode left because I've like waited to watch it because I'm like, I don't want it to be over. I'm like in denial, I'm like, no, I don't want this to be done. So I actually still have like the last episode of it, but that was a show that like got me through. And I was like, I'm only gonna, like you said, I'm only gonna watch this show while I'm doing my cardio. Like I'm not gonna watch it at home. I'm gonna be watching it while I have my super long cardio sessions, and it's something that, so finding like a super good show, like makes a difference with that. And, you know, like telling yourself, hey, I can only watch this when I'm at the gym, then it helps, you know, it helps you push you more to getting your butt up and getting there.
Absolutely. And being 2 weeks out right now, what does a normal day look like for you compared to maybe when you're 3 months post show and not in a prep?
Yeah. So, um, so this week I teach special education.
I
So
did not
this,
know that. I was
yeah,
wondering if you did work outside of
I
fitness
do.
coaching, actually.
Yes, I do. So I just do coaching and things on the side. I'd love to transition more into that full time. But right now I teach. And so I have clients and things on the side. But this week is spring break for me, which has been awesome since I'm, you know, 2 weeks out. So I've been able to really like, I've turned off my alarms and I just let my body sleep until it wakes up. And it was like crazy on Monday. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what, you
That
know,
sounds amazing.
what day is it? You know, I was like, oh my gosh, what? So I was just like, I was baffled by that. I was like, okay, I guess I really needed the sleep. So, but a typical day for me is, you know, work and then I come home, get ready for the gym, you know, do my long session and then make sure I pose. And then I come home, get my meals ready for work the next day and, you know, get ready for bed. That's typically like my Monday through Friday schedule. And then Saturday, I try to let myself like sleep a little bit, you know, a little bit more, sleep in like an hour or two more if my body lets me. And just try to have more relaxing time on the weekends, along with like my gym sessions and more family time. But I swear, like, I feel like we have had something going on like every weekend, like all the time. Like it's rare when we don't have something going on. There's just little things here and there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just don't have a day where I can just like chill. So this week has been really good for me. It's been busy as well. I've tried to plan like different appointments and things this week so that I can utilize more of like my time during the day. Because I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's hard planning a lot of things after work when I still have like my gym session and, you know, cardio and all of that. But that's, yeah, typically my day is just, it's kind of mundane and just, it's work, the gym, posing, meal prepping, getting food ready, going to bed, and just repeating it all over. Like right now at 2, that's how it's been right now. But when I'm like post show, or if I'm still kind of far out from a show, then obviously cardio is not as high. So I have more time to just like relax at home with my husband. I feel like I never really, weekends are the only time that I ever have to like kind of just chill and like sit on the couch instead of like, you know, just relaxing when I'm sleeping. So it's nice when I'm not as close to a show because I have more time to just like sit at home and be like, I don't have to go to the gym right now. I can like sit down for a minute. Maybe I could take a little nap, you know. But right now, I think time is just so limited with everything that I have got that it's like I don't have the option to do that as much. So
Definitely understand that. Like prep is a different beast in itself. And then when you add on top of that normal life things, it's very like everything. But I like it too for that reason, because then everything is very regimented. Even though there's that beauty and like the flow of improvement season that's a little bit different, it's still that high demand, that pressure can sometimes feel really good.
yeah.
And I think it's awesome that you decided, okay, like I'm going to go through this and you set up your spring break. It kind of perfectly timed, it sounds like. How do
Yeah.
you how do you manage time off with your competition season and getting to time that?
So usually I've done shows in the summer. So that's usually like
Oh,
hitting the national shows when I, you know, was competing last year. I would shoot for, you know, summer shows. That's usually when nationals are too. So it was perfect. I was like, okay, I don't have work because I have summers off and I can really just like really hammer down on like my training and just really like dial things in. And when I first had started, the first show that I had done was in August. So I didn't have work. I think I had 2 jobs at the time. So I like worked at a little kiosk at the mall as well as like teaching as well. So I only had like the one job in the summer, which wasn't like crazy. And then my second show was like in the fall. So I was like working a bunch and I was like, I was just used to it. And then once I started doing more shows like in the summer, planning it that way, I was like, this is nice. Like I have more time and I can spend more time with family as well. And there's just more I can get done. So I've usually loved to time my shows in the summer, and I've never done a spring show before. I've always wanted to do this show. I've just never lined up my preps to that point. And obviously with work, it's like, it's hard that I'd prefer to do shows that are more in the summer because taking time off is hard and all of that. So, it's a little bit of a challenge, but you just make it work. My bosses know that I compete, so they get it, and it's, that's nice. But yeah, so it's gonna be tough. I'm probably gonna, even though this one's local here, I'm in Utah, so I don't have to travel for this next one. It's really nice. I'm probably still going to take off like that week just so that I'm not like stressing too much. So yeah, but that does, like, I don't know, it's hard when you are, there's a lot of competitors who work full-time jobs and things. So it definitely is hard, and you just have to strategize things. And it's nice that I don't have to travel for this one, but yeah, it's just strategizing and coming up with a plan. But yeah, normally I've just done summer shows where I don't have to stress about taking time off of work.
That makes sense. Do your kids that you teach know that you compete?
A couple of them do. So I kind of keep it a little quiet there just because I don't want to be like, I'm up in a bikini,
Yeah.
I don't know. They've got developmental disabilities and things. So some of them might not fully get it as much. So I do have one student who found me on Instagram, and I was like, oh, so I had to go and like block him because shouldn't have stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
And I was like, I post, some stuff that, I'd rather him not see, but I mean, people are going to see that, like whatever you post out there, it's like, it's out there for the world to see. But I was just like, well, if I can try to avoid that with him,
Yeah.
so he knew that I competed, and I told him too. I said, well, I don't tell a lot of students that. So just because it's something that, I don't know how I worded it, but he was awesome where he's like, oh, I won't, say anything, because I just want them being like, oh, my teacher up there, showing her butt to everybody. I don't know. So
Yeah.
they know that I work out a lot and I eat clean. So they know that I like love the gym and stuff, but I just haven't told them that I
What's
compete.
the age that, or the grade?
Yeah. So they are post high school, 18 to 22. So they're older. Some of them can actually drive. So they're pretty high functioning. But some of them, there's different levels to that. So they're all working on getting their high school diplomas. A lot of them were in mainstream high schools. So they just have different things that they each need to work on individually to get to that point. So it's individualized to each student. They all have different goals to get there. So, but yeah, I take them out in the community, teach them like public transportation and things. Like next week, we're going to like a ballet. So some of them who have like fine arts credits, they are able to get assignments with that, which is just really cool. So we do some fun activities and volunteer in the community to get them work experience and, build their resumes. A lot of them haven't had jobs before, so it kind of helps get them that experience for when they get a job and things like that. So
did you always know you wanted to do that?
So in high school, I had done Best Buddies.
Okay. I did that too, actually.
You did? Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, so in high school, I did Best Buddies, and I was like, this is so fun. Like, I've always just thought that, like, I don't know, there was just something special about those individuals. I was like, I don't know, they're just so pure and they're just happy, and life just seems so simple for them. And I want to be around people like that. And so I did Best Buddies. And then when I was in college, I'd worked at a treatment center for troubled youth. So I actually had two jobs too. So I worked at a treatment center, and then I also worked with, special needs as well at like a day program and things like that. So I had done both, and, I was like, you know what, like, I like both of these. So I was able to do both. But once I met my husband and like got my degree, my last semester, I was able to do it online so I could live up in Salt Lake. I went to Dixie State, which is now called, they changed the name, Utah Tech or something. I don't know. They changed it, but I did my last semester up here, and then there was an opening out of school up here after I had graduated, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, so I was with a more severe group when I started, and that was really tough. Like, it was really hard. A lot of them were nonverbal, and that was a challenge too. But then you just learn how to communicate with them, and you love them like so much. They're so sweet. And then I had the opportunity to go to a different school with higher functioning. And at first it was like they could go off on their own, I was like, is that okay? Like, I don't need to be watching that. Like, they can go, like, what? So it was an adjustment for sure, instead of being like line of sight with, students. I was like, they're fine. Like, what? So, I'd always had a special place in my heart for them. And it's just always lined up. Like, I feel like the opportunity has just fallen in my lap multiple times, where like I left teaching and I worked at a chiropractor's office for a little bit of time, because I was just like, I needed the break from that. Like, it was really hard physically with a lot of like the aggression and things like that, where I was just like, if I'm at this, if I keep this up, like my body's not going to be able to function. It's going to have issues later on. And so I left that, but then something just drew me back to it. And I was grateful that I was with a more, like higher functioning group, where I don't deal with aggression and things. And it's like a lot easier on my body. And I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, I can do this. So it's always just kind of circled back. Like, I just feel like it's something that has just always popped back up, where it's like, this is what I need to do. So
that's really awesome. And you said that you finished your degree after meeting your husband. So how did you and your husband meet?
We met on Facebook. So
really?
yes, this kind of actually relates to competing in a way. So
Okay.
the high school that I went to, he went to one not too far. So we had like common friends supposedly on Facebook. So that's how we were friends. We don't know who added who. It was probably me adding him, being like, oh, this guy's cute, add this guy. So there was one day, like I rarely get on Facebook, but there was one day where I saw that somebody liked an album or whatever. And I was like, who's this person? Like, what? Like, I never get on here. Who is this? And his story is that one of our common friends liked an album or a picture, and it popped up on his feed. If like you have common friends,
Right.
sometimes
It shows what they like.
yeah. So that popped up. And so that then he went through and he's like, oh, and so he liked the album or whatever. And so I went to his profile, and it was a competition pic, like was his profile picture. And I was like, what the heck is that? It's like, our face is like lighter than our body, because you don't want your face to be super dark. So I was like, this is photoshopped. Like, who is
Yeah.
catch me? I was like, this isn't real. So I actually commented on that picture, and I was like, are you real? And then he messaged
No,
me.
you didn't.
I did, yeah. He had a screenshot of it. I wonder if he still has it somewhere, but he has a screenshot of me asking, like, are you real? Which was kind of funny. But he then he messaged me, we started talking, and I came up to Salt Lake for spring break. And I was like, oh, like, you're up here, like, so we planned on like actually meeting, and things just happened quickly. And we started dating. We'd be talking for a couple of months before I came up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be up to visit my sister and love to meet you or whatever. He's like, yeah. And so just kind of went from there, and it clicked. And I told myself I was never going to meet my like future spouse on any site, like dating site or like online. I was like, I'm not going to be that person, but never say never, because here we are today.
Oh, that's so cute. You said things move fast. You mean after you met him for the first time in person, it kind of took off from there?
Yeah, he told me he loved me after like a week of us like meeting each other in person. We'd been talking, but I was like, what the heck, So yeah. And then we started, like, we became official and we're dating, and we talked about like getting married. And because I was like, I was like, I don't want to. I was in a relationship before that where, like, I don't know, I really cared for that person. Obviously, when you're in a relationship, you care for them, but I don't know if I necessarily saw myself marrying that person, but I was like, I don't want to just date around just to date. I want to be having intention behind it. And I could see myself, with him, I was like, this feels right, that it's like, and things just happened. Like, so we didn't date for like too long before we got engaged, but it's just, I don't regret it at all, because it just felt like it just all worked. So
That's beautiful. When did you guys get engaged from when you met in person?
ooh, from when we met in person. So we met in person in, was it like March or April? And then we got engaged in July.
Oh my
Quick.
gosh, that's awesome. I love love,
Quick.
so I love hearing all these
Yeah.
stories. I think that's so awesome. I mean, he obviously knew, right? And
He
you
is,
knew as well.
yeah, he seriously is like, he's more sentimental than I am. And he is just like such a romantic. He's so cute. So he would make these like Facebook, or probably on Facebook too, but Instagram posts of like, before he'd met me, it was like, dear my future wife. He'd write these like cute like things that he was like, I promise to be this for you and all this stuff. Like, it was just really cute. I'd read this. He's just very like, he's very romantic. Like, and I'm like, okay, at least one of us is, because I'm like, I feel like it should be the other way around, but but I love that about him. And it's interesting too, because he doesn't have any sisters. There's 6 boys. Like, he
Wow.
has 5 brothers, and for all of them are like very compassionate, and their parents have raised them to be loving, and they're not like hardcore, like, oh, like tough guys. I mean, they all played sports and things like that, but they have that like soft side to them, which I like really love, because it's like, I feel like it'd be easy for some, having 6 boys, for them to all just be like tough, like, oh yeah, but
Yeah.
they're all very like compassionate and just very kind. So it's interesting to see that. But yeah, he's a cutie for sure. He's been my biggest cheerleader and support through everything. He's the one that created this, my love for bodybuilding. Like, he's the one that created that. So I tell him, I'm like, you're the one that deserves these trophies. Like, you're the one that's like created this. He's like, but you've done all the work. And I'm like, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So
I'm
yeah,
just trying to imagine you walking in to meet his family for the first time and there just being 6 brothers there, all like so sweet,
but it was intimidating for sure. So I would have to say that his, not the youngest, but the second youngest, no, yes, the second youngest, he was like, I swear he was interrogating me, but like, that's just kind of his personality. He's just like a jokester, but I didn't know them. So he's like asking me these questions, and he's like, well, Savannah, and I was like, oh, I better answer this right. I was like, better,
oh,
don't say something wrong. And so, but like, I'm really close with him, and like, he's not the type that's like rude, but I was just like, 6 boys. I'm like, the mom's probably going to be tough. She's got 6 boys, and oh my gosh, I hope she really likes me. And she's like, honestly, the sweetest person ever. Like, she seriously, she's got a ticket to heaven, because she's has 6 boys. Like, automatically going, she's going, 'cause, like, no doubt about it.
and your parents have been together for 34 or so years, right? So how did witnessing their love maybe impact the approach you take with your husband?
Yeah, so they've been together. Oh, it's been a long time. They got married in 1988. So what is that? It'll be 35 years this year. Is that right?
Uh, let
I'm
me
not good
pull up
at
the
math.
calculator.
88. If it was
35. Yes, you're
35,
correct.
okay. It'll be 35 this year. All right, good. We're good at math. There we go.
You
Um,
are. I'm good at typing in a calculator.
calculator. There we go. Teamwork. You got it. Yeah, so just seeing, like, obviously no relationship or marriage is perfect. There's struggles that are always going to be going on. My parents were always just so open, and you could see, like, I don't know, like, you just saw it work, even though, like, through the hard times, that's where the relationship is built. Those are the moments that count the most, because the good times are awesome, but the hard times are what are going to get you through to those better times. And so, yeah, just seeing how devoted my parents have been to each other, and like never giving up, has, like, I always wanted that. It just seemed like perfect for them. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get that. We all like doubt that, and when you don't have it. And I was like, man, like, that's crazy. They've been together for so long, and you see a lot of divorces happening, and it's sad to see it. And I was really grateful that, like, they have been together for so long, to see that. And um yeah, just seeing them never give up, I was like, oh, I want something like that. And they're very supportive too, and always, they're supportive of all of their children, of each other, and just such kind, like, loving people. They honestly are just, they're amazing people. So I'm really grateful for them.
That's awesome that they gave you an example that you're striving for and that is something you wanted for so long. And I want to ask you a question that maybe will be a little bit on the controversial side. I think you know where I'm going with this, because one of our listeners asked this, and I asked you for permission before bringing it up. So you guys, I'm not just throwing this out there. But someone wanted to know how having an OnlyFans has impacted your career and your relationship, as well as what motivated you to start one.
Yes. So I've seen all these videos, I'm like, okay, these girls are making bank, like even guys too. It's like, what the heck? And there's different things that you can promote on OnlyFans. It doesn't have to be, a lot of people, when they hear OnlyFans, they're like, oh, nudes, like this person's posting all that stuff. And that's a big like connotation with it. However, I don't post any nudes. Like I draw the line there, so a lot of, I wanted to start it too. And like I asked my husband too, because I'm open with him like this. I want to be respectful of him. If like, I think he was the one that actually was like, you could make some good change. Like, why don't you do it? And I was like, I don't know how, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and he's like, and I'm like, well, why don't you run it for me? He's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing either. And so I'm like, oh, well, you're no help. But so honestly, like, I'm not super good at it. Like I haven't been as good at posting as like some of these top people, but it was honestly a good way where I was like, you know what, competing is expensive. And like, I'm doing these photo shoots and things, like maybe I'll post some things that I wouldn't necessarily post like on my Instagram, but it's still, I'm not going to be nude. I was like, I'm not going to post stuff like that. Like I have my boundaries there, but I was like, you know what, like, why don't I just post a lot of the similar things that I was posting on Instagram and not post those as much there and then just get paid for it. So, and like my family knows that I have one, like my parents too, like they're so fun. Like I'm really open with them about that stuff. And, I it's not like I have anything to hide. Like if someone asks me a question, I'm like, yeah, I'm an open book about it. Like if you're going to put yourself out there for like the world to see, like it's out there. So it's like, why deny it, but yeah, honestly, like if I took it up like a notch, and actually like focused hard on it, like I feel like it could be a lot better. But it's been a good way to like have just some extra money that you wouldn't have, like get paid to post. It's kind of cool. So yeah, I don't post anything where, I'm not going to be posting nudes, I'm like, no, like not doing that. So it's just a good way to post some like kind of saucy stuff that still is, somewhat appropriate. Like I guess it's,
like it could go on Instagram, but for you, it's not going on Instagram. It's something you want to get paid for being a little extra spicy.
A little spicy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Now, with OnlyFans, I'm not super familiar with it myself, but I've had friends who do it and others in the industry I know, and I understand that chatting or conversations are something that you can also be paid for. How do you navigate things like that with your relationship?
So I was telling my husband, I was like, you should be the one messaging these people. I'm like,
you know what they really want.
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you be the one messaging them? I actually don't respond to messages. I don't even look at them, which is probably not good. Because I don't know. I just go on there and I'm like, post something. I try to find some like I find like a good caption for, whatever picture it is, but I don't do stuff like that, which I probably should. Like I feel like I'm so inexperienced with it. I'm just like doing the bare minimum. But you can get like tips of like you can request tips or something. Or like there was one time I posted like, hey, if I get like send me like a tip and then I will like send you a personalized photo like individually to you or whatever. And so I did that once and that can create like some good cash flow too. But I was like, all right, like maybe I should do that again. I don't know, but just makes those people feel a little bit more like special, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I'm like, it's more work for me to do where I'm already just like,
yeah,
put this on there. So you can like, I have a friend too, that's like, I want to start up an OnlyFans. And she was sending me like videos. She was like at work. She's like, we were talking about it. And she's like, what I'm looking at work. And she's like, how I made this amount of money from OnlyFans, like someone's YouTube video or whatever. And it's like, you can make there's people that make crazy amounts, like it replaces their income. And I'm like, wow, all right, well, I'm doing something wrong, but at least I'm just doing something, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I appreciate you being open about it because I think it's a interesting topic that does come up quite a bit. Okay, so it is a pretty common, I think, curiosity because there's women who like they really don't post anything that you would associate with OnlyFans on it, and yet some do. So it's nice to hear other types of perspectives. And honestly, we haven't ever brought it up on the show, so I was kind of glad that there was an opportunity to do that as well, and appreciate you being open.
Oh, for sure. And I think, like, I don't know, people are going to judge regardless, and that's just kind of how it goes. But I've made sure to be like mindful of, what I put out there, and, but people, regardless of anything, like I had, when I first started my fitness journey and I was posting more of like check-in things or things where I'm not like fully clothed, when you're in your posing suit or whatever, I had like family members that got like super uncomfortable with that just because it's not something that they're used to. And it wasn't immediate family, like they've been awesome and they understand the journey, but it's been some like, extended family that's been like a little skeptical on it, which is totally understandable. Like, so I'm LDS. And so that's obviously been something like modesty is important, where now I'm out here like posting all of this stuff, and it's like hard for family to understand when, you've grown up a certain way. And that's something that a lot of people, it goes against their like morals or, beliefs and things like that. But I think honestly, like you're your own person though. And like I don't know, if you have good intentions about things and you're not going about it in a way like, who are you to judge somebody else with things, So it's like, I don't know. I don't think that, I'm not trying to make this all spiritual, but it's like, I don't think like God knows the intentions of like our hearts, with like what we put out there. And I'm not going out there to seek like all of this like attention in that like scandalous way or whatever. It's something that I'm proud of, that I've worked hard for. And the sport is obviously showcasing your physique and things like that. So my like family's gotten a lot more understanding of it as I've just continued to keep going on with it. They get it. But it's still hard and uncomfortable for some. I definitely would say like understandable, like especially like when you're hitting your back pose or whatever, if you have like, people are like, what the heck is that? So totally understandable that people feel that way. I just think when they feel that way, they just might not understand as much of that. And that's okay,
I would agree with that. I think like bodybuilders, we get so used to seeing it. We know what we're looking for. We're looking at the muscle bellies, we're looking at the shape, the symmetry, details, conditioning. They see it, they're looking at an ass, So
it's like it can be viewed more in like a sexualizing way, when it's how we look at it. It's more of like, what is it? Objective, subjective. We're looking at it more of like objective.
What is
like which one?
I guess both, depending on the context, actually.
I guess so. But we're looking at it in a way where like, we're looking at, like you said, the muscle bellies. We're looking to see like the roundness of the muscles. We're looking to see like that hamstring like tie in. We're not looking at it to look at an ass, it's like,
right.
So, but those who don't understand it, like you can't, I don't know, you can't really blame them because they don't fully understand a lot of it. And so,
yeah, totally. Now you said you're LDS. Did you do a mission trip?
I did not. So I wanted to, but I was like, should I finish my like college degree right now? Like I had my associates at the time, and I was like, you know what? Like I'd love to go. Like that'd be cool. But I was like conflicted, like finish school or do this. And so I had met with like my bishop and was just like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm obviously going to finish schooling. Like I want to finish school, but like, I'm right here at like this good stopping place where I could like go on a mission. And he's like, well, both decisions are great. And I was like, you're no help. Or I was like, oh my God, I wanted you to tell me what to do. So I actually decided to go to school. And I think like, obviously things work out how they will. Cause like I met my husband,
yes.
And I don't regret that at all. And I have a lot of like family members who have served missions that have come back with not super great mental health. And I already struggle with that. And I think if I went, I think it would really test my mental health a lot more. And so I think they're a great thing, like serving others and things like that. I think it's awesome. And I support anybody who wants to do that. I think that's wonderful. I'm just grateful for how things worked out for me, where, schooling was what I chose to do. because I think it's helped me value like my relationship more with like church things, and like it strengthened me more. I think it could have definitely tested me more, which is good, but yeah, I'm grateful that I didn't go. Is hopefully that
Yeah.
doesn't sound bad, but because yeah,
No.
I struggle with like anxiety and depression anyway too. So anything to help avoid more of that potential struggle, like, it's not, it's worth it to avoid
Yeah.
any potential risks, I think.
What are some things you do to manage the anxiety and depression that you face?
So big things for me is my support system. So obviously my parents, like I've said, I'm really close with my parents and my husband. They understand my temperament like really well, and my parents as well. So my dad struggles a lot. I'm really similar with him in a lot of ways. And I think that's why we get along so well. And like we're very similar. He struggles with anxiety and depression too, and he can have some really low moments. And I've seen him in those moments. And I think looking back at it now, I think those moments have helped me to get through when I have those really low moments. Seeing him work through that, and having my mom to support him, and having us kids too. Like, I know that my dad really looks up to my oldest brother. He's someone that can help get him out of that funk, because they're really close as well. And I like to think too that I'm someone that can help him too, just since we're really similar. And I've learned kind of patterns with things, and I struggle with it too. So it's easy to relate on that. But what's really helped me is honestly just communicating with my parents, how I'm feeling, giving them a call, talking to my husband, and just getting that reassurance from them. I think it would be really beneficial to have a therapist for anybody. And I'm like, that's something that I would love. I've never had one, but I think it definitely would help me a lot. My parents are my therapist at this point, and my husband, but really just finding a good people who support and love you unconditionally has really helped me. And those three people, my mom and dad, my husband, have been there loving me unconditionally and helped push me through. I had a really hard time after my pro debut, just like mentally felt kind of like lost. And it was really hard. We were visiting my parents in St. George, and we were on the road, like coming back home. And I just like started like bawling to my husband. I was just like, we need to go back. Like, I need my parents. Like, I was just going through a lot, and I like couldn't really like navigate it. And so I went back, and I was just like, my parents were holding me, and I was just like bawling, and I was just, they knew what to say and like helped me. And I'm glad that I turned back, because I was like, I'm already like bawling on the way home. I was like, this is going to be a horrible like 4-hour drive home if I'm just like not mentally in a good headspace. And I was grateful that I was there when I kind of had that like mini episode, to have them there. Like, things happen for a reason. And I was grateful that when that happened, like I was there to have that support.
That's really beautiful. I think you made some key points there, like having people who give you unconditional love and support, knowing what your triggers might be, or like red flags of falling into those moments or phases or holes or darkness, and then also being able to turn to people and have the courage to do that. It requires courage. I say courage because it's not easy when you're feeling that way necessarily to turn to someone, but clearly it is something that's helped you over the years. And I think that openness within all the relationships you have is a great protective factor in everything that you face. Now, I think I heard you say this was after your pro debut.
Mm-hmm.
Like right after, as you're driving home?
No, so this was a few weeks after. So it'd been like after like I'd experienced like that high of like, oh, I got my pro card, and then I jumped in like pretty soon after into my pro debut, because I was like, it'd be smart to do a pro debut pretty like soon after. I was like, this would probably be good strategically to just like see what I need to work on and like how I compare. And so my coach and I, we decided on a show, and that one was like awesome too. So I was just like, I kind of felt lost after that. Like, I went through like my reverse and everything like that, and I was still executing everything, but it was just kind of hard after experiencing like all of these like great things, and then like coming down from that. I think like I experienced a really high, and then it's like eventually you have to come back down. But then like sometimes it's hard for me to to level that out just to like a normal place. And like, I can get really like low, and it's hard. Like, I feel like the further along in prep too, like for me, like I experience these days where like days are like super great. And then there's days where it's like, it's a super low. And it's hard for me to get out of that and like get out of that mindset. And that's where like talking to, my support like comes into play. Like it really helps. Cause like, I'm still trying to figure that out and like navigate it. And I have a medication that I take too, that like definitely is like a lifesaver for sure, but it's not something that's like fixing it 100%, but it's like, it's not, I don't want to keep like being like, oh, I need to up my dose. I want to, I'm like, I don't want to have to like rely on that. And I just have to figure out like how to work through this. And I think family and like the support has helped, like talking it out and realizing too, like we all have struggles, we all have issues. And I think a lot more people have been open about mental health. And I love that, because I used to be ashamed that I take medication for mine. And, I was kind of embarrassed to talk about it. And I think more people are opening up about it, and it's just creating a safe place for those who struggle with it. And that's what it's all about, because we all have our issues, whether it's mental health or not. There's things that go on in our lives, and we can be really hard on ourselves, and we're our worst critics too, where that just can make it worse too. But just realizing like we all struggle, but finding a good support system and people who care about you and love you unconditionally is a game changer. So that's really helped me. But yeah, I honestly, like my poor husband, he seriously deserves like a gold medal for sure. Cause there's days when I'm just like really struggling, and he's the one that like holds me together. And like, I don't know where I'd be without him. Cause I'm like, geez, I'm like, check me into a mental institution. Cause some days I'm just like, I can't handle this, I feel like crazy. But yeah, it's a constant struggle. I think the big thing is just navigating and learning how to work through that. And I think that's where I'm like, man, a therapist would be good, because they could probably give you some coping mechanisms and things. But if you can't do that, I think, yeah, support 100%. Find people who understand, maybe they're not going through similar things, but people who can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. Like having someone who's willing to be there for you and hold space for you, that alone can make a huge difference, because just by talking about our struggle, it's shown to reduce the way that it impacts our life. So if we have the ability to do that, that is awesome. And it's great that you can recognize those people too as like, okay, these are the safe people to go to. And when you have that, it's like, oh, can't take it for granted. And I love that you're so grateful for it. And you had said too that in that journey, a lot of times through prep, you're getting lots of wins and things are kind of stacking up. So you're moving further from baseline, right? Like you're climbing up. So when you went and you did your pro debut, you had gotten 5th place, and you went there pretty soon after USA's. Is that something the judges recommended that you do?
I actually didn't talk to the judges afterwards. It probably would have been good, but like I communicate with my coach, and I'm not sure if he talked with them or what, but he's been seasoned enough with things that he knows. But he's awesome too, where he lets me make a lot of like decisions too. But obviously like I trust him, and I seek for like what he like for his approval and things. I'm like, okay, is this something good? Here's some ideas. And so I talked to him like after that show. People had asked me like, oh, are you going to do a pro debut? And I was like, well, I don't know when, I might wait or whatever people. And so I heard a lot of things like it'd be good to wait, but then also at the photo shoot the day after the show that they have with like the class winners and stuff, there was someone there that I can't remember his name, but he's a coach, and he's kind of in like the NPC. He's affiliated somehow, but he was saying like, why wait? He's like, you'll hear a lot of people like, or some coaches will say like, it's important to go through like a growing phase before your pro debut or whatever. Like, okay, we got our pro card, like, let's go grow. But he's like, you were awarded a pro card for a reason. Like those judges think that you are worthy to be up there with those pros. So why would you go through an improvement season when you don't know what you need to improve on yet? Like, why don't you see where you line up? And so that's something that kind of opened my eyes to hearing that. And I'm really grateful that he said that, because I needed to hear that. Because it's like, that's right. Like, what would you need to like, if you were awarded a pro card, you were awarded that for a reason, because they think you're deserving of that. And so it's like, well, why not get into a pro show pretty soon after and just see where you stack up and then go from there, get that feedback and work from there. So I toyed with the idea because I was like, I want to just like soak in this moment of like this victory. It was super awesome, and I was like, I don't know what shows. I looked at some, I was like, I don't know like a lot about that. And so I talked with my coach and I was reversing and things and kind of had that in the back of my mind. And then I was just like, you know what, like, coach, I want to do my pro debut. Like, let's do it. And he gave me an idea. He's like, let's do this show. And I was like, okay, I trust you. I was like, you tell me what show we're doing and let's do it. And so we chose Sasquatch Pro. It was the first time they've ever done that show. And so I was like, this is funny. Like my father-in-law like loves like Bigfoot and like Sasquatch things. Like I was like, this is so funny. Like this is so cool. So we chose that show and I was like, wow, I've never been to, Seattle before because it was in like Washington. I was like, this is so cool. So we did that show and we were, there, and I was like, this is cool. Like, I'm just going just to see how it goes. I'm not expecting anything like crazy, but it'd be awesome to get a first call out, that'd be really cool. So we're there and I'm like backstage with like Deraja and I'm with like Ashley Kaltwasser and, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, what the heck is like, just like a month ago, Ashley was awarding me like the overall and now I'm on stage with her. Like, what? So it was really cool. And I actually like talked with her backstage quite a bit. And I was like, wow, like they're people just like us. They're just competitors, I was like, this is just really neat. So we were up there and it was that, I don't know, the stage lights there were really hot. There were like some figure competitors that I don't know if someone passed out, but they had to like bring some people off stage because it was so hot. They had to like rehydrate. And I felt like really hot up there too. Cause like, I don't know what it was, but it was like temperature wise, I was like, something's going on. I was like, hopefully my tan is not dripping down my ass cheeks. I was like, oh boy, like, let's hope that I'm not like dripping.
Yeah.
I think we were fine, but like, I was still like worried about it. But, yeah, no, that show was like awesome. So they called me for like first calls and I was like, well, that's cool. Like, what the heck? Like, all right, like I accomplished that goal. And I was splitting in between like fifth or sixth, so I was like, that'd be really cool to place.
Yeah.
And then they called us, like they got the top 5 or whatever and called us, so I knew that like I got fifth, but I was like, this is so cool. And so it was Ashley who got first, Deraja got second. Her name's Marie. She's on Team Atlas. She's super sweet. She got third. And then Alessia got fourth. And so all of them actually competed at the Olympia. So I was like,
I was going to say, they were all on the O stage.
Yeah, they all were. And I was just like, what the heck? Like all of them, I'm like up against all these like Olympians. Like, it's so cool. I was like, that's cool. All right. I guess like I'm doing something right, I guess. Like, so that was just like a crazy experience too, that I was like, cool. Like, and I would have loved to do more shows, but obviously they're expensive and like with work too, it was just like so hard. And I had already been like prepping for so long too with like, I don't know, with national shows that I was like, I think I might need a little break and just mentally and physically, so I do wish that like I would have tried to make it work, but I don't regret it too, because it's like every time has like everything has its season. So I was like, what, that's okay. Like I just need some time so I can just kick it into gear for this next season and just go from there. So
for sure. And that's exactly what you're doing, right?
Yes, 2 weeks out. So my coach came up with like a little bit of a game plan. So obviously I told him I wanted to do this show just because it's local. And it was the first show I'd ever watched actually years ago when my husband did it. So it was the first bodybuilding show I'd ever went to. And so it's always held like a special place in my heart. Plus it's here in my hometown, which is super cool. So I've always wanted to do it, but like I said, like my preps never lined up to make it work. So I obviously trust him if he's like, oh, I don't think we should do that show or not, but he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we're doing that show. And then we've talked about a couple others that are like kind of up in the air that we don't know yet, because I've got to figure that out with like work. I don't know if we'll wait for more like summer show, so we're just going to kind of play it by ear and see how this show goes and get feedback and just kind of go from there and form a game plan afterwards and just kind of go from there. So, but the goal is like, obviously now, like the next big thing is like to qualify for the Olympia, which is like super crazy now. I'm like, a year ago, my goal was to get my pro card. Like, what the heck? So, the next biggest thing is, to that's the next big goal, is to win a pro show and qualify, which is like insane. So, that's the goal. And we'll keep working hard and just see what we can do, and whatever happens. And as long as I'm just putting in the work and doing everything that I can. So
is this prep similar to your last prep or different?
I would say this was actually been pretty easy. Like, so in my like mini improvement season, we kept things a little bit more on, I don't know. I wanted to keep things a little bit like tighter, because I was like, you know what, like the feedback that I had gotten from Sasquatch Pro from Sandy was, so I always struggle with my tan. There's like something with my skin. My skin is tricky with tans. I tell you, like I am practically albino, like I'm so white, and like, I don't know, my skin is just like tough. So my tan was a little funky at Sasquatch Pro, but a few others were too. And I don't know if it was like the product that the like sponsored tan people used or what, because I know that another like top 5, she had issues too that went through them, and her coach was not happy about it too. Like he was like, you got to fix this, and I was just, I just had some issues with mine too. And I was like, what the heck is this? So my feedback to Sandy's like, we got to figure out that tan. And I was like, yeah, my skin's kind of weird. It's kind of tricky with the tan. She's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, like I figured tan was probably part of it too, but she's like, I want to see just a little bit more to your middle glute too. And she's like, shape conditioning, everything, like overall presentation is spot on. I just want to see a little bit more. Obviously, us girl, it's always glutes or shoulders, it's bikini girls, Yes. So I'm hoping that with this like little amount of time that I've had, like I haven't gone through like I don't feel like I've had to go through like a crazy long improvement season, because there wasn't a lot of work that necessarily needed to be done. So in that regard, I told my coach too, I was like, I would prefer to keep things kind of like not too far out, like I don't want to get like way out there where I have like a lot of work that needs to be done to like drop a lot of weight or anything like that. So he's so awesome with like letting me be in control of things too. Like, obviously I'm like, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. But he's like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel? And I'm like, yeah, like whatever you think is best, So, so I'm just hoping, like, you never know until like show day. And like, once you kind of get down to that point, like if you've made those like desired improvements, like you never know. It's kind of just like, oh, let's hope, like you can put in that work. But once you're there, down like to show day, you're just hoping that you've made those. So that's the hope there. So
did you do anything specific to target your middle glutes?
My coaches had me keep training the same, but I think the thing that I have changed the most is just more of like my intent and really focusing on mind muscle connection. I think too, like I can get like, my ego can get in the way of like, I'm going to push this weight, like I'm going to push hard and like really just like try to max out whatever. But in the past, that's caused me to like injure myself, like I'm like, okay, this isn't worth it. Like I really got to like execute form and really contract those muscles and like just really focus on that. And that's something that's like changed in me. And I think that's something that, is more like personalized. Like you've got to be the one that like makes that little like change. Cause I asked him too, I was like, is there anything that you want me to do specifically like different? And he's like, everything is like coming together like symmetry wise, that, like why fix something that's, we're making those improvements. And it's like, why switch stuff up if things are moving in that direction, so, and I think some of that too, like it could be like, maybe I could like pump up a little bit more, like it could be little things like that. Maybe carb up a little more, like it could be little factors like that, so I think, but really just my intention with my lifts has been the big thing that's changed a lot, is just being like, okay, I'm actually going to really go through the motions and I'm going to execute these, like, and I'm not just going to half-ass it. Like I'm doing this to improve and just having that intent behind it.
Are you reversing into this show?
Well, not exactly. We just got some updates today. So we are definitely like, we're lowering things quite a bit. Push,
like push, final push.
We're pushing. Yeah. Cause my coach is like, he prefers us to be ready like ahead of time, which I prefer too. I'm like, you know what? I would rather be ready ahead of time just so like I'm not stressing about scrambling. So he's like, how do you feel about this? And I was like, let's do it. Like, yeah, let's do it. So we're pushing a little harder now. And I'm like, I got this, like 2 weeks, we got this. So which I'm okay with. So no, I will add in, I'm assuming we'll add in like more carbs. Obviously, like in the past, how my body peaks, we usually add them in. I don't know if he's added any in on like Thursday, like the Thursday before, but definitely like Friday, because it doesn't take a lot for me to like fill up. If that makes sense. So we kind of are more minimal with that, but like honey is the best, like honey's a good one for me, backstage, those quick carbs. So
yeah. It sounds like you guys have a good game plan. The goal is to qualify for the Olympia. You're going to see if you made the improvements you intended to make or if little tweaks need to be made. Now, before I get to asking you something I ask everybody, I have to ask you about the lucky toenail, because your husband said, ask her about the lucky toenail. I was like, I'm not telling her before that I'm asking her. So we need to hear this story.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's funny. So I was on, I have a friend here in Utah who does like a podcast as well. And he was like, you got to talk about the lucky toenail on there. So those who've already listened to that one, they already kind of know the story behind it, but this lucky toenail. So I honestly am like trying to figure out how it like originated, but, I don't know, like it's just like so weird. People who have foot fetishes are probably like, this is the best for them, but, my husband, like, I don't know. I would always kind of like make fun of the way that he would like clip his toenails, like the big toe or whatever. I was like, wow, that's really short, but I guess he's just got like short toenails. And so there was like one time he was growing and I was like, oh, it's kind of like, oh, just keep growing it. That's kind of funny. And so I kind of made him keep like growing just like this one. And it like good things were happening. Like it was after like universe, I think. And I was like, you can't like, things are going good. Like you can't, that might be the lucky toenail. Like if you cut your toenail, like, bad things are going to happen. Like this is my good luck charm, so he like grew it out and he was like, man, this hurts, and it wasn't like it was like crazy long, his were already like, his toenails are already like super short. So it probably was like the normal length of like anybody's, where he was like, this is uncomfortable to me, but he, bless his heart, he puts up with so much. He grew that thingy out and, and I was like, I will clip it for you. Okay. So like get my gloves out, and just clip it. But I was like, I'll clip it for you after, and I was like, your toenail is what got me my pro card, So
that's so cute.
I told him too, with like, with my pro debut, like after that, I was like, you got to grow it out again for this. And then he did. And I was like, okay, well, this was a good luck charm too. We did pretty good. So right now I told him, I was like, you got to let that one grow out. Cause we'll see if we'll put it to the test,
Third really time.
Lucky, so that is the story of that. And it's just kind of so like funny. I don't know. And he would like tap it on the ground, like it would make like a tapping. No! So funny. And I was like, it's just so funny. But like, no, he honestly, like, he's someone who is like well groomed, honestly. So for him, like growing this out is like saying a lot, because he's someone that like he really takes care of himself. And so he truly loves me if he does this for me. Like
this man loves you. From everything you've shared, I'm like, this man in love.
He's a keeper for sure. Yeah, this man, he's been put through a lot, he's a keeper for sure.
Aww, I love that. That's definitely not the bare minimum.
Yeah, he's going above and beyond,
Yes. Yeah. Alrighty, so now I'm going to ask you for your best advice for someone who's never competed before but would like to, and then your best advice for someone on their road to pro.
Yes, best advice for someone who's never competed before: trust the process and make sure that you communicate with your coach. I think that's been the biggest. I'm someone that likes to communicate anyway. Like I'm just very open about things. So communicating with your coach where you're at is going to put you that much more ahead. So I would say trust your coach, find a coach who has good credentials and communicate with them. Don't be afraid to share how you're feeling. And like, if you have concerns, be open with them. And then advice for someone who is wanting to go pro or like going on that national circuit is, I guess it's very similar to the advice I just gave, but to believe in yourself and know that you are worthy to be there, but make sure that like, I don't know, don't get too in your head with things where you're like, oh, I'm the best, like don't let it get to that point. But like trust yourself that like you're qualified to be there. So those judges see something in you to compete at that level, and just control your controllables and really just push yourself to be better. And yeah, trust your coach, trust the process. It's just kind of the simple things like that. Honestly, I love the motto like less is more. Just simplify things. Like that saying like KISS, keep it simple, stupid, if you've heard that.
Yeah.
Honestly, like simplicity. Like I was just talking to a friend today about like posing. She's like, your routine, I love how just simple your routine is, because it's just to the point. And I was like, you know what, like less is more. You execute it and it's clean, and that's what I feel works for me. But I love that motto, is just like keeping things simple, don't overcomplicate things, and just enjoy the ride, find joy in the journey. That's my favorite saying too, is just find joy in the journey, in every little step that gets you to that end destination. Find the good moments in between and really relish in those and enjoy it.
That's beautiful advice. I feel like me and you could talk forever because there's so much more that I feel we could get into, but this has been so amazing. Seriously, like you're very open, like you said, and you've given a lot of great insight as well from your own journey and experiences. And we are going to be releasing this after you've already been on stage, but how can people continue to follow you and your journey and even work with you or connect with you?
Yes, Instagram is a great way to follow my journey. That's where I put everything out there, really. My Instagram is _Savannah_joy. So that is my Instagram there. And if anybody wants to work with me, they can, reach out to me through Instagram. That's honestly, with today's day and age, that's a great way to connect. And that's probably the best way to connect with me. So
perfect. Now, is that posing coaching and fitness coaching, or mainly fitness coaching?
Both. Yeah. I
Nice.
do both. So if anybody, reach out to me on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. So I'll put all that in the show notes page, you guys. That's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right when it's been released, it'll be at the top of that page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized, and you'll be able to find not just the links to connect, but also a full breakdown of the topics we covered, a summary of the episode, and timestamps so you can come back and listen to certain aspects of this, or even know exactly why to tell your friends and teammates to listen. So thank you guys so much for listening, tuning in again. And Savannah, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun getting to talk with you. And like you said, like, I feel like I could talk with you forever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we've been talking for like
I know.
an hour and a half, I'm like, shoot, sorry. Like I'm such a talker.
I love it.
It's been such an honor to be on here and to be featured on your podcast. And I appreciate everything you do for this community, and just grateful to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're
to
welcome.
everybody out there listening, hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you're in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.